Welcome to the first Q&A live stream of 2023 season because the draft's over and it's on. Here we go. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome back to RGR Football. This is Dan Harms. I'm Ryan Tracy, and I know you've seen a lot of us lately. If you've been watching anything called the NFL Draft, because it was a marathon, but thank you all for paying attention and watching our coverage. There's a lot of choices you have out there. We do appreciate you checking us out. I had a blast, Dan, and I got to be in studio together for the first time. It's quite a bit of fun, I have to say. We didn't even elbow each other.
It was fantastic. It was one of the most entertaining, fun, and I guess rewarding experiences of my career so far. So it was extremely awesome to be able to do that.
Yeah, it was a blast. And people got a kick out of seeing us together. I had to prop myself up on 7 pillows so I could look as tall as Dan, but it worked out.
And do what you have to. Do what you have to. It's not easy.
No. I cannot keep up. But it was a good time. So welcome in, everybody. For those of you that are really serious fans, welcome to Monday night. This is where we do your show. You guys are going to run it because we're going to answer your questions all night long. If you're new to us or you just happen to be having a draft hangover, welcome back. Like, sub, and hit the bell there because we got a lot of stuff going. A little bit of news came out today. I'm sure we'll bring it up here as we get to all the questions tonight, but we're going to dig in. Check out the store if you would. If you have any questions still about the draft prospects, you can still grab the guides. Oh, yeah. I'm leaving the discount code up for a while. It's RGR23, and you get the matrix and everything else if you feel like it. If not, check out the RGR store. It's in the description, and let's get to the questions because you guys have some good ones. I have seen your draft graded mostly as a B. Our draft graded as mostly a B. What are your thoughts? Go ahead, Dan. Where do you break it down at?
Yeah, this is about how I feel about it too. You got quite a bit of floor with a lot of these players. There's not all, and you do have a good amount of upside. I'll say. I don't necessarily think that they have like the most upside that they've had in their drafts. But I don't think this is going to turn into last year's draft. I wouldn't try to set my expectations that high. But you do have a good amount of floor with what these guys do well. Like Felix is going to come in. He's going to be, in my opinion, the second best pass rusher in Kansas City. I think he's already the second best pass rusher next to Chris Jones because of everything that he does well. Rashee Rice has two things that he does extremely well, which you guys are going to find out on Wednesday. And the rest of his stuff, got some work to do. You have some other, other players like, Wanye Morris. And I apologize now. In the end of my video, I pronounced his name wrong again. We're going to get getting used to it. It's Wanye. I apologize, Wanye. Please don't hate me. I love you. You're going to be fantastic. You have, again, nice floor with a lot of these players, but they all have things that they do need to work on. I think that was always going to happen with this draft class. There wasn't going to be a ton of like, boom, you guys are going to come in and play pretty much every single down because you fit perfectly into what the Chiefs want to do. Like it's a little bit of different that they're going to have to learn. So it's a B. It makes sense because you still don't have like that one player that you're just like, he's going to immediately kick it off. And I think that's the reason you see a B just about everywhere.
Well, and I'll say this too. We have to take a step back. I think to the best classes, and I'm going to have my best draft classes, teams anyway, over on NFL 33. Hopefully tomorrow that should be up. You guys can look for that and break down about what we're talking about in terms of competition, who got who. When you take a look at who did really well, it was the teams that went out and got national champions. It's the teams that managed to get 3 Georgia Bulldogs on their roster, Philadelphia Eagles. But that, I think, is a secondary philosophy, right? When it's a down year, total talent in a draft, I think you go with who's the cream of the crop. And so that becomes a secondary possibility. And I do believe that compared to last year, the year before that, and maybe even 2 years before that, this class as a total was not as talented as those classes were. Mm-hmm. That is part of why when we got Creed Humphrey, we told you guys that his upside there was all pro.
Yeah.
I think Felix can be a very good, possibly a Pro Bowl player. Do I see all pro in him from his college game? I don't see as much as I saw from Creed. Doesn't mean he can't get there. It's just that your starting point versus what happens. Now, I love seeing the fact that George Karlaftis has been working with Tamba. And I got to think that if Tamba's willing to help one, he's willing to help another. If they can all come together, can learn from generations past of Tamba Hali and the generation before him that he learned from. What that does is, I think, up the ceiling for Felix in particular, but for the group as a whole. The other thing that I will say is just because it's not as elite as last year's draft class as a whole is, not just the Chiefs draft class, doesn't mean that these guys can't play the same, if not more meaningful roles. Because what that means is they're rounding out the gaps inside this particular roster, this 53. That becomes more and more important because they're the small pieces, the bits in the chain that other teams are going to attack. So I feel very good about the fact that they're addressing gaps. I won't even call them issues or holes because they're not that bad. This is a Super Bowl roster, right? So I think overall, not only do I think it's a B, but I think that's a really good way to look at it from a league perspective as well.
Yeah, I agree.
So feel confident if you're out there and you're worried about why isn't it an A? I think it's just because there isn't like the super high impact. There weren't as many of those guys to go around. You're not going to like who I gave my A's to, but we'll talk about that next time. Jordan, who was your favorite draft pick and most realistic option to make a contributing impact this year? I want to get excited about BJ Thompson, but he's about 20 pounds too light and already 26. Do you want to take your thoughts? Who's your favorite pick and most realistic to make an impact?
So during the draft coverage, we talked about like Felix was my favorite pick, but I think I'm going to steer away from that because you guys already got my explanation on that. Kendrick Coburn has become like my second favorite pick for Kansas City. I know a lot of people like Shamari Connor, and I'm actually going to get into his tape for next week, like right after we're done here. So we're going to get more into that. But Kendrick Coburn is the highest floor player in Kansas City from this draft. He's the highest floor because he comes in and you know exactly what he's going to do. He's going to take up double teams. He's going to two gap. He's going to identify everything up front, and he's going to let Willie Gay and Nick Bolton just run free. That's what he's going to do day one. He's going to make this roster. Yeah, he was a 6th round pick. He should have been higher. He's going to make this roster, and he's going to be an impactful player, but in not ways that you think. He's not going to get a ton of sacks. He's not going to rack up a ton of tackles. He's going to open up your linebackers and Chris Jones to do other things that are best for them, to get those tackles for loss, to get those run stops. That's what he's going to do. He's going to be the dirty man, the everyday man, just working man. He's going to bring his lunch pail to work, and he's going to get after it. I love that. He's a fantastic nose tackle, and is going to really help raise the floor of this entire defensive line.
And unlike what we saw from Derek Toddy when he came in much a similar role, Keandre's got pass rush. He was productive in pass rush. I'll do a breakdown on his stats and some of my transitional markers I use in the analytics on production about what you produce in college and what does it show about what you can produce in the pros. That's a really nice metric for him in particular. I'll share some of that science with you guys here coming up as well. I do want to say this too, that I love the story about the fact that he was cleaning baby bottles when the call came in.
It was great. Right. It's a great story.
No one's going to forget that. It's not as good as the backflip from Colin, but you can see the similarities here, right? Yeah. And he is right about Colin's size. I think Colin is a little bit more explosive in measurement, but he's got something to offer, and I like that. I do want to address too, Jordan, your question about BJ Thompson. BJ is not necessarily 20 pounds too light. BJ weighed in the combine at 243. If he plays at 250, he's going to be right about where Frank Clark was. And I have no problem with that. As a speed outside rusher, change of story, he's not going to be the crush the pocket. He's going to go around the edge. I like that. And I think that's a good weight for him. Yes. Is he already 26? I thought he was 25, but still
he's 24.
He's an older prospect. Okay, fine. Maybe that talks to the limit of where the re-up is in a couple of years. But for now, in this first contract, we don't have to worry about any of that. We just got to train him up and turn him loose. And I do think that you're going to see some positive effect out of him. I just don't know where he'll fit in the rotation as a rookie. I think sophomore year in 2024 is where we need to be paying attention.
Yeah. Don't expect them to make the roster out the gate this year. That's my estimation. I expect them to add a veteran, and he will make the roster over BJ Thompson. He'll be on the practice squad most likely, and that's just what I expect.
They did keep enough last year that if they do the same thing, that he could make it this year. But that means Joshua Kendo, your days are numbered. Well, as much as I'd like Malik Herring, that could be a similar situation. So we're just going to have to see how camp goes. Anthony Patton, does McKinnon coming in tonight mean that he is signing? That is the expectation I've heard from from two people outside of Brett Veach saying, yeah, we might get something done. I've heard from several folks that, yeah, it's going to happen tomorrow. I didn't expect it to happen, honestly, until camp. But clearly now, with the fact that they didn't go like high-end pass rusher at D tackle, this is going to be, the next couple of months is going to be about re-signing Chris Jones. So get Jarek in and get it out of the way and have him back in the rotation. And he will be in a very similar role to last year. Brett Veach did mention CEH by name today, and that he's going to play a role and be in the rotation. So that, along with Deneric Prince, I think we have a question coming up about him in just a minute, you guys. So there's a nice, well-rounded group right here. And don't forget, there's Ely on the practice squad, and running backs are dime a dozen right now. They'll be cut all over the leagues. They'll pick someone else up as well. You may be able to get some yardage out of. So get ready for Jet to be back. The Dockster is in. With all the research you guys have done, do you see any possible diamonds in the rough? From, I assume you mean from the UDFA class? Or am I missing something, Dan?
I mean, that's all I can assume because, I mean, they could be talking about some of the players that we drafted as well. I mean, that's possible considering day 3 was full of a little bit more guys that were, I guess, maybe most people didn't know.
Fair enough. I will tell you this. The guy that I had the highest grade on that was on my draft board is Cam Jones, the Indiana linebacker. Can he take Jack Cochran's role? Possibly. Could he be a 6th guy that's on the practice squad in case they need him? That's definitely possible. But he brings his own brand. And I will tell you this. I had him higher on this year's board than I had Cochran on last year's. So there's one guy I think could be a diamond in the rough. So they made another signing today. The hometown kid from Mizzou is going to come over. Let's see what he can get done here on the rookie tryout weekend. Maybe we'll get something that we can all hang our hat on. Christo, what direction are we going with MVS being our fastest receiver? Will we get more 50-50 balls now that Pat does that? Does that mean more Jody? Yeah, I don't know about the 50-50s. There's going to be, not by design anyway, but it will be tighter windows. I think Rashee Rice, kudos to Rashee for putting that out there, because when he was asked who he emulates his game of, he was not bashful. Yeah, D-Hop, I'm going to go get that ball. So, okay, right on, bro. So you better go do that. And I do think that is, we've talked about it in the past, an aspect of Pat's game that he can expand on. I don't know if it means 50-50 so much as we're going to throw it into tighter spaces and we're going to let guys use their abilities. I hope that it means more Jody, though. Do you have thoughts on this, Dan?
Yeah, this is kind of, I think you're going to see MVS used the exact same way as we've seen him already. And that's, again, he and Mahomes had disconnect issues last year. He should have probably had 3 or 4 more touchdowns on long balls. He probably should have, if we're being honest with ourselves. And that's probably going to come to fruition this year. You're going to see the Chiefs do what they did again last year with getting the ball out quickly and attacking the short to intermediate parts of the defense. And every once in a while, they're going to catch a defense sleeping. And they did that a couple times with MVS. And you're going to probably hit at least half of the ones they missed last year. So you're still going to see him be a lot, running tons of wind sprints down the field, using deep posts. Pretty much what his route tree was last year. It's going to be the same this year going forward, because they still need that deep threat to open up everything underneath.
Yeah, it's a full field attack. Makes everything else a little bit cleaner, and I agree. I think that can lead to pluses in ways we're not necessarily expecting. Cody Ashmore, thank you. It was a pleasure to see you over at KC Beer Co. And for everybody that was there hanging out with us, we much appreciate your time and Sud's intake ability. So cheers. How do you feel about the draft class a day removed? I feel pretty much the same. Like I think I might have fallen off just a touch. I gave it a B+ when we talked about it the other day. Now I'm here and it's at least still a solid B. I do think that Wanya has more to offer than I initially thought. I may have even been low on him by a couple of the comments that I've heard from other GMs around the league. So that makes me feel just a little bit better that this is going to be a real battle. And when it comes to impact on the season, Wanye could be the guy that plays the most reps out of this rookie class because I just don't know where Lucas's legs are right now. What did he get? 6 snaps last season? One at a time through several games, right? Now that's not to say that Lucas couldn't have recovered quite well in the last 4 months, but I just don't know. So until I know, I think he has the biggest opportunity, Wanye does, to get on the field and play some reps. So Cody, that makes me feel better that you're getting that guy in the 3rd round, not having to use it in the 1st.
Yeah, I'm still going to stick with my B+, mostly because the first 3 guys they drafted were all positions we knew they were going to attack, and all 3 of them are going to be, I believe, early contributors immediately. And I still think Kendrick Coburn is going to be a pretty good contributor for the Chiefs this year. So you have 4 guys that you draft that you're pretty confident are going to be in your starting rotations at some point in terms of they'll be on the field playing. And again, I agree with you with Wanye being probably the most likely to have not just the biggest impact, but playing the most snaps this year would not shock me in the slightest. You've got a couple of guys in Shamari Connor, who's probably going to be a core special teams player. And he actually could probably jump Deion Bush on the roster early for playing time. I think that his versatility offers that a little bit more than Deion Bush does. We know Bush is more of a special teams guy anyway, really in for that 1 more year to probably get Connor that experience in playing. But I don't expect anything from Thompson, not much from Jones either. Maybe he doesn't make the roster because they are pretty loaded at corner. So those 4 or 5 guys I feel pretty comfortable with. So I'm sticking with my B+.
Okay, rock and roll. Cody, again, nice to see you, and nice avatar too, buddy. Thank you guys for all the hard work. You guys are pioneers of Chiefs YouTube. Thank you, Christo.
Thank you, Christo.
We have been here quite a while. I just got to get the wagon wheels back in the ruts, and we're in business. I keep running off the tracks a little bit. Where is Clyde in the rotation now? Christo is also asking. For me, I do think that he's in that top 3. I don't think the rookie's going to displace him anytime soon. But clearly, for me, early, it's about saving McKinnon's legs. I would like to see Clyde be the number 2 and take that many reps. Now, unlike last year, where Clyde was the heir apparent, it was Pacheco that was going to be the 2. Now, I do think that switched in terms of volume. It should be Clyde next. And they don't like to go too far out that. But let's just save Jet till, October, November even. And we'll let Clyde have his run early.
Yeah, I'm still in the camp that Clyde's going to be it was the RB2 all along. The fact that they didn't draft the running back kind of tells you that they feel comfortable with that, at least to an extent. And I was wrong about them drafting a running back. Yes, they brought in Deneric Prince, but realistically, this is almost the same running back they drafted last year, just not as fast. He's almost the same in terms of play style. He's a very upright runner. He's not very good in pass protection. He's actually kind of worse from a contact balance standpoint, and he doesn't have the vision either. So, yeah, he's got a good amount of guaranteed money for a UDFA. Good for him. I don't expect him to make the roster this year. Again, hopefully Clyde can stay healthy. If he doesn't, that's going to give, Generic another chance to get on this roster and stick. But you're not, the terms of change of pace back applies for when you have different guys coming in. And if you take Isaiah and then you bring in Deneric, it's almost the exact same thing, so the defense doesn't have to change too much. But that's how I feel about that. But yeah, I think Clyde should be and will be the 2. He was people forget, he was extremely efficient scoring touchdowns last year. He was scoring them left and right, and then he got hurt again. That's the big thing here. If he stays healthy, it shouldn't be any question that he's the number 2 back on this roster.
Yeah, I mean, remember that fancy touchdown maneuver, spin him a bob, whatever.
Yeah.
That was,
pretty good. Yeah.
We just forget after watching all that, right? Marcus, do you feel like Felix will be able to be a plug and play 3-down DE in our scheme? No, I do not. Charles Omenihu is making enough money. He will start on 1st down. The weakness I think Felix has right now is playing the run. So while he can play with some leverage, I don't think he actually understands the fits quite as much. So I think Omenihu will start. And then as soon as they go to it could be 2nd, could be 3rd. But as soon as they go to a passing down, I do think Omenihu comes inside with Chris. then Felix comes on to be the wide 7, wide 9 type rusher, along with Karlaftis. Do they flip that around? Do they put the young guys together? Who knows? They'll play combinations with it. But I don't think, not only do I not think he will, I don't think he has to be a 3-down player as a rookie. That will come next year.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of the Chiefs' defensive end room. And they're probably going to, I'm not going to be surprised if Frank Clark is in training camp this year. I will not be shocked in the slightest if he is back on the roster in training camp, which will also help save everything. Like, Frank's a really good run defender. They can use him that way still. They don't have to have him pass rush anymore. They could literally bring him in as a body for run stopping and be like, hey, why don't you get to third down for Felix? Because that's what he's going to do now. It's a luxury to be able to take a year off from him and let him do what he does best, which is pass rush, and let him learn how to become a run defender.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's going to work pretty well. And then if you get there early, you get there early. It's great.
Yeah.
Vander Shadows finally got to catch a Q&A live. Awesome. I just want to thank you, Ryan, Dan, and RGR crew have been enjoying the videos and the content for the last 2 years. Okay, rock
Thank
on.
you.
Nice
Appreciate
to see
it.
it.
Thank you.
I really do appreciate seeing that. I don't know if I'm fading in or out. I'm going to have to flip nets here, but would you take Tim's question here?
Of course, Ryan, with the ever-changing flipping of the internets. Thank you, Tim, for the question. Who was your favorite UDFA player from the Chiefs picked up? So there's a player. I need to look him up really quickly because I have the UDFA list pulled up. It's one that wasn't added too long ago. It's a wide receiver that has a lot of return ability, and I just can't remember his name off the top of my head. So if you guys would help me out and give me a name, because I'm trying to, like I said, I'm trying to find it through here, and I cannot think of it. You look. Where is he? I know this is fantastic video right now. I don't remember what his name is.
My name is Ryan.
Your name is Ryan. That's right. Yes, that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Yes, it was Nicky Remigo. Remigo is going to be,
Remigio.
I think he might, Remigio.
He's Italian.
I'm not very good at pronouncing Italian last names. That's not exactly my thing. So I apologize for that, Nicky. But yes, I do think that he's an interesting player that could push for a special teams role. Probably not immediately going to be like a receiver, that kind of thing. But I think that it was going to start out as Emir Smith-Marset going to be the return guy, and you don't have to worry about Tony or Pacheco or any of these guys having to return, and then he could do that. Now you have a couple guys that could actually vie for it, so I'm excited about that possibility.
Yeah, keep the pressure off of everybody, right?
Yeah.
Jacoby, great avatar, by the way.
Nice.
Nothing against UK State fans. Just love seeing a little bit of getting into it there. Do you expect your kid to be a run-only defender? Felix and Menihue, Dana, CJ, and BJ feel like a great third down pass rush situation. No, you didn't spend a first-round pick on George Karlaftis, who played every down for you last year, to come off. They still want him to crush the pocket. He may align inside, especially if you want to get BJ in particular coming off the edge. So I personally, just my thoughts, I'm looking forward to a bare front kind of pass rush, 3 dudes inside and 2 guys on wide edges. When you really got to get after somebody and you got a team that wants to leave extra blockers in, that's the way Spags will attack it. I do have to say this. I'm very intrigued by the fact that they finally did what we've been asking for in getting a speed element rusher, like a 3-4 OLB type, to go with Joe Cullen's scheme. Like, how much do they mix it in? Like, is there a balance? Where do we see that? I'm very intrigued. But Jacoby, I do expect that they're going to rotate all those guys all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just going to be whoever's freshest, whoever didn't play the last drive, like, bring it in and let it fly. That's what I'm hoping for.
I love it. I'm so happy. Finally give us some speed.
Kel, is there a chance that we still trade CEH with McKinnon returning? There's always that possibility. I do believe, especially with Eric Bieniemy gone, that the running back position isn't going to be quite as cut and dry. I do think they're going to find that they're going to feel like they can use more players in more situations. So if they feel they could get some value, maybe before the draft deadline. Maybe if there's a team that loses a back or two, maybe that's where something like that could come in, where they feel they're going to be able to pull someone up from the practice squad that gives them another viable back. I think that is a possibility.
Maybe we're gonna I think it would be more of an in-season thing. He would have to be having a good year, and like he was last year. I think he improved his trade value before he got hurt. So that's something that I think I agree with you there. I can't hear Ryan. Where did he go?
I muted it up because I had to cough.
He muted.
Dan, where do I get the hat you're wearing? You can get it. The links down below in the description, or you can go to bit.ly/RGR store. It is right there on the cover. That's a nice one too. That's the full woolish cotton one. Like this guy. This guy's fun, but it's for the summer because it's mesh. It's a trucker hat. Dan's is the full McCoy, so got to dig that. And you guys are welcome to it. All of our gear is there, and we'll be adding some things and maybe even redoing the store here over the summer.
Oh yeah.
Now that we can maybe take a breath, we'll find out. Good Lord.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold it, but I'll take a breath. How's that?
No, they're okay. That's better.
Thanks, Marcus. Andy, how are you? What's up? Massive Chiefs fan from Ireland. Well, cheers, nice. Andy. Nice to see you. I'm actually, I think, heading over there summer after next. So I have to go see. I still have like a 17th cousin somewhere in Cork. So I got to get over there and meet everybody. After the draft, who is the best team this year? Well, I personally submit to the theory that you're the champ until somebody knocks you off.
Yeah.
But I will say this. The Eagles brought a lot of guys back, and they added a lot of dang talent in that draft. Like, I'm a little pissed off. There's 3 Georgia Bulldogs playing for the Eagles now that weren't 5 days ago. So in terms of that, I could see a rematch. Philly and Chiefs right back to it. I think it's a possibility.
Yeah, it's definitely a possibility. I mean, I would never rule it out. It's for me, I like to think this question is who had the best improvement in the draft. And I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be so much better than they were last year. So heads and tails better than they were last year. I think that they had an excellent draft. Chris Ballard kind of reminded everybody that he's pretty damn good at this. and I think that gets lost in the shuffle sometimes because, you're not going to hit on every draft pick you have. You're not going to hit on every quarterback that you bring in. And they really tried so hard to stay on that we can win now path. And it didn't work out for him too much. But I think that Ballard got back to his roots. It was a classic athletic draft. I also love the Josh Downs pick with the skyscrapers that they have. They're going to be able to just destroy the middle of the field with Josh Downs. So that was a lot of fun. They got Tommy Adebaware. Obviously, Anthony Richardson's an alien, and Shane Steichen's going to use a lot of the same concepts that the Eagles used last year with Hurt. With Hurts, they're going to use it with Richardson. I was a big fan of the draft. I think that they're the most improved team going into next year with their draft.
And stop me if you've heard this before. The Colts were very good with an athletic left tackle and Eric Fisher on their roster, right? Well, now they got the most athletic tackle in Blake Freeland to come in there and learn and play that role next to Quentin Nelson. I think that is a big plus as well. They got Darius Rush. They got Daniel Scott from Cal. Like, they pulled a lot. This was maybe the most athletic matrix heavy class of anyone in this whole entire thing, including Jake Witt, the last selection at 236.
Yeah.
They are one of my top classes as well. But I do want to say this. Watch out for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh might make a little bit of resurgence.
Yep,
I think they plugged some holes. So with Broderick, with Joey Porter, with Keanu Benton, they put in Darnell Washington. I mean, come on. If Kenny Pickett needs a friend, it's a tight end. So this might be dangerous. Not for the Chiefs in particular, but for sure. But for the Ravens and Browns.
Honestly, the entire AFC North just got I think they got better. The entire AFC North got better.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a lot of fun to watch how they were kind of down last year. I think this next year might be a fun kind of rehashing of the old rivalries that we used to see, where everyone's kind of vying for that the AFC North title.
I don't know. I think my least favorite draft out of that whole division is the Bengals.
Yeah,
they got Miles Murphy, and I'm a fan of
I'm
DJ
not even
Turner.
sure if they wanted Miles Murphy.
And I'm not sure that it fit,
Yeah.
They came back with DJ Turner, Jordan Battle, Charlie Jones, and Chase Brown, the running back. Yeshivas, I don't know. Just none of it really stirred the pot for what making me more nervous about them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fair enough. A homeboy, why do you think we passed on Oklahoma Marvin Mims and took Rashee Rice instead? Because Rashee Rice elevates. He's 6'1" to begin with, and the Chiefs have a bunch of undersized, under 6 foot receivers. I don't know that there was enough in the route tree and the scheme that they want to run for Marvin to really get in and make an impact. Whereas on the outside, it's pretty much wide open. There's MVS and Justin Watson, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't think you put Tony out there full time.
No, I don't think you can. It's not, honestly, it's probably best that he doesn't stay out there full time. He might be on a snap count the rest of his career too. You never know. It's hard to tell with his constant injuries if he's going to be able to stay healthy long enough. So you just kind of want to manage what you have. And I'll be honest, I had a 3rd round grade on Marvin Mims too. Like I was not as high on Marvin as most other people. I didn't see the 4.39 speed on tape that was at the combine. I also don't see yak ability. I don't see any of it. Not his fault. I just think that he's a McCole Hardman type player. And the Chiefs were probably trying to go in a different direction. Rice is not the fastest guy in the world. But one thing that they talked about specifically today that Brett Veach mentioned that I talked about in my video that will release on Wednesday about his contested catch ability and his yak ability. And you're going to notice the difference in yak ability and what I talk about on Wednesday. Just remember 2 things. He has excellent eyes everywhere on the field, with catching the football and with tracking the football and with defenders incoming. Rashee Rice has maybe some of the best eyes for everything that you're looking for at a wide receiver out of this draft class. So that went a long way with them, I think.
I like it. Night Hunter, thank you for that reminder. So if I do go to Ireland here, got to go on a beer tour. I do plan on that. But Andy, don't hold this against me. If I slide into a little bit of the accent there, I will be in Middleton pretty much the entire time at the distillery. If there's a brand, you'll find me in Middleton. So not far from the county seat of where my family's from, and I can see it all from there. I can probably smell it all from there. So, hey. Do you think the Chiefs are going to get to Chris Jones' real deal soon? Chad, it sounds like it's going to take a little bit of work from what Brett Veach said today.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's a right before camp thing still.
All about that movement. Who's gonna blink?
Right,
are the Chiefs going to finally be like, just lay down the contract on the table? We'll find out, because I don't think that they want to just throw it out. I don't think they want to. I think they want to try and meet somewhere in the middle. And I think Chris Jones is not going to do that.
And the last time that he had to come in on the contract, it was last minute. Yeah. Because I do give Chris credit, because he doesn't want to miss any time. He's not going to sacrifice training camp practices, I don't think.
No.
But he's also not so needing of OTAs, you know what I mean?
Right.
So he can hold off on that. That's just my gut feeling. Maybe they can make it stick before that. I don't know, Chad. But I do expect camp will be normal for Chris Jones this year. Kyle, been watching y'all from Texas for 4 years. Great coverage. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Do you all think that we can make it back to the Super Bowl with the wide receivers currently on the roster? I have to think so, because quite frankly, with the number of snaps that Juju didn't play, this wide receiver core might be an upgrade. I don't know.
I mean, who knows? We're going to find out. I don't know. I don't think it's a totally upgrade yet. I think it's like the exact same group that they had last year, nearly. And then you add Rashee Rice to the mix. So, I mean, if you just think of Rashee Rice as Juju Smith-Schuster, it's the exact same roster they won the Super Bowl with. So, yeah, I think they can.
Yeah. I hope so anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's within the realm of possibility. Then again, you could also see him in acquisition. With this type of wide receiver core on cutdown day, if you see veterans let go, you could still see somebody else come in as well. Kev, can Rashee Rice make an immediate impact for the Chiefs instead of starting off slow like Sky Moore did? I think he has a better opportunity, yes. because there isn't as many big-bodied guys. I think they're going to run Tony on the outside in OTAs, and I think they're going to quickly come to a realization that he's got to rotate with with Rasheed out there.
Yeah.
So yes, but in terms of the impact, that is always a function of how you have chemistry with Mahomes. So that is all going to be dependent on what they do from here on out to game one. I don't have a great feel for that yet.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be difficult to kind of project that because this is like the first time they've used a day 1, day 2 pick on a receiver that's over 6 feet. I think under Andy Reid, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't think that they've drafted any that high. It wasn't Chris Connolly a third round pick?
I believe it was.
It was third round pick. So yeah, they've got more smaller guys that they've drafted. So I'm going to be interested to see how this works because again, day 2 pick is still significant in terms of what they want them to be. We're going to kind of find out how that goes, but they do need this to work a little bit. I think if Sky Moore doesn't become what they thought he was going to be after they traded down from where they were last year and selected him, then trade up for Rashee Rice and it doesn't work out, they're going to be labeled as the team that can't draft and develop wide receivers. And that's not the best place to be, especially when you constantly talk about getting weapons for your quarterback. Then you're starting to be like, well, how are you helping him? You can make it turn into an Aaron Rodgers kind of thing.
Oof, let's not go there. We're going to avoid that like the plague.
Brother
Rick, Brother Rick, thank you for your support, buddy. Regardless of the draft grade, one of the underrated aspects of the Chiefs is the quality of their coaches. Yeah, it's a very good point. And it's been a challenge, right? With not only EB leaving this year, I do think that Matt Nagy's ready to be an offensive coordinator again. Matt may end up being the Rex Ryan type, where I still think Rex is an excellent coordinator, but he just can't be a head coach anymore. Now, maybe Rex has gotten too much media time and he's gone over the deep end, but that's fine. But I do think Matt's prepared to be an offensive coordinator. The question becomes at the running back position, the upgrade in the assistant quarterbacks coach, whose name is escaping me right now. Like it's about pulling up the younger coaches and what they're able to learn. So I agree with you, but we are going to see some differences here. So let's keep an eye on it. Terry, do you think the Chiefs and Chris Jones will get done in a week or so? No, I'm just going to say no.
Yeah, I'll say no.
Dan, how many roster spots are actually open for competition this year? From what I see, 38 spots are guaranteed.
Good point, Red Hood. That's an interesting question. I don't think that there's many that are like going to be open competitions. I think that there are maybe a couple starting spots that are open. But like roster wise, I would think most of it's almost set in stone right now. Maybe 10. I think maybe 10 roster spots you're looking for. You're probably looking for a back end of the wide receiver room that's almost set already in terms of, I think, contractually. We're going to see how OTAs and training camp goes because you don't really get a good feel for roster spots until you see how they're working in training camp. But I mean, right now, I would say a lot of the roster that'll be on opening day, like September, which is 4 months away. We got a long way to go here, so it's hard to really project that. But I do think there's probably going to be anywhere from 10 to 15 roster spots that are actively open for competition.
I like it. I'm just trying to sort here real quick. Mm-hmm. The Chiefs lost 5 guys that played meaningful. Nope. 8 guys that played meaningful snaps. So there's at least those spots open. Mm-hmm. Beyond that, we'll see what else comes of it. Carlos Dunlap is 34, and Frank Clark is 29 now. So they count, but they're not exactly for sure things. Scott, is Dontari Poe a fair comparison to Keandre Coburn? Not in my opinion. Keandre brings more pass rush than Dontari ever had, and he does not handle double teams as well as Dontari did. Don Terry was just a unique dude.
I was about to say, not many people do. The dude was just impossible to move, even for NFL offensive linemen. They couldn't do anything with him.
Yeah, but I don't see it quite that way, Scott. Size-wise, I actually equate Keandre closer to Colin than I do to Dontari.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he's closer to Colin than in terms of the guys we've seen recently, Colin Saunders and Derek Nottie. I think he's much closer to Colin Saunders than Derek Nottie.
Yeah, agreed. What are the betting odds on who comes to Arrowhead for the season opener? I say either Philly or Cincy. What say you, brother Rick? I hope that you're right, and I hope it is Philly. They have done the past Super Bowl matchup before, so cross your fingers. I would like to see it and get a measuring stick early in the season, hopefully to play the first game and the last game. That'd be my hope. Lev, hope you're doing well. Does the draft all but guarantee that seed is here to stay? It doesn't seem like anyone we picked up would be his successor. No, if he has a successor, his name's Trent McDuffie. Nobody was brought in to be that next guy. But I will also say this: between Connor and Jones, you have two guys that can and probably should beat out Najee Johnson. So they are in that top 5 corner group. You could line Jones up and call him a safety if you want. I've seen him play everything from free to robber to box to nickel corner. He can do a little bit of everything, and I'm comfortable with a little bit of everything as long as it's not like, the Scotty Millers, the super shifty small wide receivers. As long as he's not a soloed nickel and man on them, then I think you're pretty good. And I do love him as a blitzer. The Chiefs, evidently, according to Brett Veach today, had nearly the same grade they had Wanye. So they could have gone that direction. If Wanye had gone off the board, he might have been the selection an entire round earlier. That says something.
That's an interesting that would have changed my grade on this draft, I think. And that's not to say anything because I haven't gotten into Conyers full tape yet. So we'll see. But that is a drastic difference from drafting him in the 4th, where you had him in the 3rd. So I mean, I'm happy they were able to get Wanye and kind of delay that and still get the guy they were looking for. So that tells you that at least they were higher, and that this draft, they were not going to let the draft kind of dictate what they did. If he was there in the 3rd and Wanye wasn't there, they would have selected him no matter what. They traded up to get Rashee Rice when maybe he could have been there when they picked in the 2nd round. So they went and they got their guys, and they had the feeling that we're going to come in here, we're going to get our guys no matter what. So I'm not mad with that mentality, and they seem to have done that the last couple of years, and it's worked out.
Yeah. Caroline, thoughts on the second Tennessee lineman that signed, Jerome Carvin? Thanks for the awesome content. Thank you, Caroline. Appreciate you. I honestly did not work Carvin up. I did not have him as a draftable guy. So he is a work in progress. From the film that I went back and watched, because I got a couple Tennessees here on my laptop. Not the fluid athlete that we maybe expect for this team. He is definitely a work in progress. So I need to see some more. But I think, honestly, OTAs are going to tell the tale. He may be a guy that we have high hopes for, that maybe he's relegated to the practice squad kind of early. We'll find out.
Yeah, that's all I got for you. Unfortunately, we just didn't get into him a whole lot. But there is a little, at least, connection here that the Chiefs are making. A former Tennessee offensive lineman, Wanye Morris. They have, Trey Smith on the roster. They have now another one that they have signed and brought in to get a look at. So they're looking at these guys, and they seem to have this identity identified that they want to at least get a look at. So that should give you at least a little bit of, there might be something here to possibly have as a backup in the future.
Yeah. Knock on wood. I mean, is Prince isn't on the roster, is he?
I think he's still there, but I don't think he's going to become the 53.
He is still there. You're correct. I think the only person in Kansas City that needs to be worried about Jerome Carvin is Prince Tega.
Yeah, there you go.
Dawson, Michael's mad that we took FAU over Michael Mayer and Joey Porter Jr. What should I tell him? Tell him that everything's fine. They have guys named Travis Kelce, L'Jarius Sneed, Trent McDuffie, Josh Williams, and Jalen Watson. Neither of those guys as good as they were. And I did have 31-ish area grades on both of them. So your uncle's right. Neither of them were as much a need as getting after the pastor. Nothing against pastors, against passers.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Joey Porter Jr. is not a scheme fit for the Kansas City Chiefs. He is a cover 3 corner, a guy who's going to be best in that type of scheme. The Chiefs don't run enough cover 3 corner that it made cover 3 defense that it made sense to take him there at the back of the first round. And Michael Mayer, as much as I like Michael Mayer, FAU brings a third down pass rush that Michael Mayer can't bring, and he can't play offensive line as well as you'd want him to out of the gate. So granted, he would probably be the tight end 2 over Noah Gray pretty easily and pretty comfortably, but I think that they valued that pass rush element. And when you have a guy who, again, I believe is going to be the second best pure pass rusher in Kansas City, the minute he steps on the field next to Chris Jones, that should tell you the level of competition that they don't have at the true pass rush development area. He has that already. He's going to help Mike Dana. He's going to help George Karlaftis. And I think he's got more moves than Charles Omenihu does. So that's my opinion.
Okay. I can rock that. I will make one other side note. Trent McDuffie played like 70% cover 3 in college. So people had him pegged as well.
Way better change of direction and way better coverage skills than Joey Porter Jr. does.
He does. He wasn't as physical. So there's ways is all I'm saying. You can train a dude to play in this scheme.
Yeah, he's smaller. And has change of direction.
Does Coach Spags finally have the right bodies with the right body type to play his NASCAR package with the following foursome of Felix, Chris Jones, Omenihu, and Karlaftis?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Although I would argue even with Frank Clark, he's had his type guys in terms of the length and the power for the last couple of years. Yeah. But yes, this brings it. And here's the cool thing is you can run those 4 and then run BJ Thompson out. And he can actually get around a little bit faster, like the Hounds to the Hunters. You ever watch The Hunt for Red October? One of my favorite movies of all time. Hounds to the Hunters. Go check that out. And if you guys don't know that reference, shame on you. Go read Tom Clancy.
You should. And then you should also watch the movie because the movie's pretty good too.
It is. Is the wide receiver same, better, or worse than it was last year? The wide receiver room does. I don't know. I'm going to call it the same. What do you think, Dan?
You could argue it's worse. I'm going to stay worse because we know Juju Smith-Schuster. We know what he brought when he was healthy on the field. We don't know what Rashee Rice is going to bring yet because he hasn't stepped on the field yet. He's a rookie. So I'm going to go ahead and say worse because we had proven players on the field. And right now you have MVS and a bunch of guys that are either trying to stay healthy or still trying to prove themselves in the NFL.
Yeah, Sky and Tony were trying to prove themselves last year. You know what I mean? Maybe I'm discounting them.
Yeah, I know I'm discounting the health of Kadarius Toney because I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah, that is a concern. Thanks, Des. Appreciate you. Your thoughts on the UDFA so far? Anyone that has a chance of making the roster? Cam Jones definitely does. Maybe Carvin on the outside chance. I know they like what's his name, Barrow from App State, right? Isn't that? Am I thinking the right guy?
I don't know. I'm looking through the list right now. I'm trying to find the guy.
No, it's Hardy Anderson's from App State. Quentin Barrows from Grand Valley State. Too many states. Sorry. Those guys are fighting for lineman 9, lineman 10, if they keep 10. Those kind of spots. Those are pretty hard to push for. Let's see. Who else did the Chiefs sign at running back? LaMichael P. Ryan, right?
Yeah, he's been on the roster for like a year, I think.
Right. So I think Deneric Prince is probably going to beat him out, is my guess. The guy that I'm really intrigued by is Nico Remigio, just for his return ability. Take some of that pressure off of guys. Then who else? Cam Jones, I do think probably has a pretty good path to making it.
Yeah.
Taylor Reese. Or Reese Taylor, sorry. The Purdue corner. He's probably, in terms of talent, I had a draftable grade on him.
Okay.
He's probably the next guy. But obviously you're playing into a corner group that you could argue the Chiefs took 2 guys this year, took 3 guys last year, and they have LJ. So good luck.
Yeah. Maybe there's a punter's duel. I know Holly won't like to hear that, but Adam Korsak out of Rutgers has been, invited to minicamp. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but I don't know if there's any going to be. I'm not as high on generic Prince as a lot of people. I don't think he's going to make the roster myself, but I know some people think he's the RB2 on the roster already. I just don't. That doesn't sit with me.
I agree.
It doesn't make any sense. I don't think he's going to make it, but again, we'll see. I said the same thing about. Well, I actually didn't say the same thing about Isaiah Pacheco. I knew he'd make the roster, but I didn't think he'd be the starter by the end of the season. It turns out he was. So you never
allow
really
me to
know.
answer for Holly. There will be no punter duel. Okay,
fine.
Rodier, I hope you're doing well. Any idea why the Chiefs didn't take a chance on drafting A.T. Perry? Seems like he was worth it, at least a 5th round pick. I talked to an analyst that I trust just this morning, who is as lost as I am. And I went to him asking, like, listen, you've seen way more classes than me. What on his film says don't draft him? And he said the only thing that he heard is cartilage. I don't know what that means. Evidently, there's some kind of injury issue that I was not aware of that evidently teams were. That's the only thing I can come up with.
Okay.
So if that's the truth, if there's some kind of congenital cartilage issue, that would have to be with a knee to be anything of concern. Then I can understand why you hold off. You make a much lower investment in him. So.
It's interesting because we have information saying that Tajay Spears' knee has been graded as worse, like a grade 4. Whatever this is called. Like, let me pull it up.
Like, he's pre-arthritic right now.
Like, it's bad.
Yeah. Like, I've seen 2 people say that he's unlikely to get a second contract, that he's not going to make it that far in the league because there's nothing left.
But they drafted him in the 3rd round. I'm a little confused at that. Like, we're talking about grade 4 outer bridge classification of cartilage injury, which means that there's full thickness with exposed bone in terms of what's not there anymore. That's what this has been classified as. But you're drafting him in the 3rd round.
That's the Tennessee Titans. This is the same team that took Malik Willis last year and now said, oh, by the way, screw it. We're going 33 with Will Levis, another guy that we can't make the projection correct on. Let's not put anything past them. They have a new GM, new front office. I don't know, man. I don't know.
I don't know. It makes me really upset because he's such a fun player, but that is a not good diagnosis. Not good. I'm very upset. So I'm hoping that maybe, 4 years in the league, maybe that's like what you're hoping the most he gets if he's able to stay healthy and he's able to have, I guess, with Hassan Haskins already in Tennessee, maybe with Derrick Henry gone, they just use those 2 guys and just continuously try to get him the ball in space. Essentially, I don't know. It's tough because I had him as my RB4, so that was, if I had known that, things would have changed a little bit with his draft grade, but you just don't know.
Absolutely, I'm totally with you. Corbin, Shane or Blaine for the backup job? I think it's Blaine's. I don't think
in a landslide.
Yeah, just too much experience there. When you back up Tom Brady, you understand how to run everything in an offense and read everything you're seeing. That's a done deal. Yeah. Brett just got in. I still think we need a vet wide receiver and a vet rotational pass rusher. Who are some that are available that you like? And what else do you see us addressing before the start of the season? The Jones contract off the top is number 1. Vet wide receiver. Man, I'm going to go check the roles right now. Who's available in free agency? I don't think there's much, buddy.
Yeah, there's not much out there. They did their veteran free agency at wide receiver with Richie James already, in my opinion. And that's kind of how that's going to be. The room at wide receiver is probably what you're getting unless they make a trade for somebody. I just don't see that happening. And now we know that, DeAndre Hopkins is playing dumb, and someone was saying that he didn't want to be traded. I never said that, buddy. Oh, okay, DeAndre. Yeah, we know you don't want to be there. Okay. But I think Chris Jones I think that Frank Clark will be on this roster by training camp. Him or Carlos Dunlap, one of the 2.
And that could be completely plausible. Let's see. Man, I don't know. I'm just
it's not good.
No. I just don't. I'm not seeing it, man. I'm literally not seeing a name that I'd bring in at wide receiver. I gotta tell you.
There you go.
That's just freaky tough. But so yeah, they can make some additions here. I do like Richie James to make the roster for sure, and maybe even play a role. So we'll see how it develops. For everybody who is saying there's no way, that puff of smoke, Justin Ross's career is over, that is not necessarily the case either. It's the same situation it was last week when I was telling don't get so excited about what you see from Justin Ross. Well, now I'm saying the same thing. Don't get so excited that he's going to never play again, because it's the same situation. If he's healthy, he can compete. We just don't know if he's truly healthy. Some of those videos everybody gets very excited about don't show a guy with all of his explosion back.
Yeah.
That's a trained eye that's telling you that. Take my word for it. So there's still a ways to go for him. Who are you guys more worried about next season, the Bills or Jets? Jets did a pretty good job. I have to give them credit. But they don't scare me no more than anything else. They got the 5th, 6th, 8th best quarterback in this league now. I don't know.
Until Aaron Rodgers can win late in his career in the postseason, I'm just not going to be scared of him. The Giants what was it? There was a game a few years ago where the Packers probably should have waxed the floor. Like they should have beat the 49ers a few years ago, 2 years in a row in the postseason, and they couldn't do it. So I don't know. I'm just not scared of Aaron Rodgers in the postseason. Regular season, I don't care. Josh Allen in the postseason against the Chiefs has been good, but their defense is still suspect. It's still suspect. So the Chiefs' defense has continuously gotten better. So I would lean more worried about the Bills than the Jets, just because I think Josh Allen against the Chiefs plays better than I guess Aaron Rodgers would.
And I hear where you're coming from. And so what did the Bills go out and do? They added Dorian Williams. They added one coverage linebacker to their defense in the draft. That's what they did. That ain't going to get it done.
No, it's not.
James Carvin from Tennessee. Is this Tennessee lineman?
This one, yeah.
Okay. Was this the same question? Okay, sorry.
He just asked it twice. That's all.
Okay, gotcha. Vindell. Hello, Ryan and Dan. About Nick Jones, I see him as a special teams guy, as a Ghana. He blocked 2 punts from both. Oh, as a Gunner. Okay. He must have that East Coast accent. As a Gunner, he was doing just great. He was. Up there, Ball State. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's why I mentioned Najee Johnson before. Najee made this roster by being a teams guy. Nick Jones has that same path ahead of him. The question's going to be, if I remember Matrix-wise, Najee has the advantage. I don't know if that's the way it works out, but that's something to watch at camp for sure.
Yep.
As a Ghana. Okay, I got to remember that one. Did Chiefs take anybody from HBCU? I don't believe so. Not this year. They took Josh last year, not this year, but they did bring in 2 Ivy League UDFAs.
Yep.
So there's something. Keep moving it around a little bit. Is the backup QB job open for the taking? No, it's pretty much sealed and done. Nothing against James Bichelle, but I don't think you're beating out on an 11-year, 13-year veteran, whatever Blaine Gabbert is. So you'd have to really show me something. Arrowhead Apex, like the avatar, by the way.
Cool.
And cheers for the support. Appreciate you. Great hearing your draft recap. When can we expect the 2024 Matrix? Okay, so basically about 4 or 5 days. I'm trying to speed up the process. After next year's combine, you'll have the Matrix. The problem is not the calculations for me. It's putting together pretty pages. That's what takes me a little bit. So if I ever got a system like Raz that actually spits it out there real time, you'd be in business, but nobody pays for that. So I got to build all the pretty pages myself. So Apex, I appreciate you. I'll give you your discount now. It'll be Matrix 24. You're all set if you want to go pre-order, bro. Saeed, hope you're well. Do you think Sky Moore will get more packages? Felt he was a little underutilized. I don't know about packages so much as I do think that they will make some play design for him. The packages, I think, will be apart from him, will come and go with who's going to run the deep over on the other side or those kind of things. I don't think that's going to have to be so specific, but I do think that they're going to make a concerted effort to use he and Tony together to work off of each other to create separation and put especially robber type safeties in conflict. And that's going to pay off huge.
I'm with you there. They just got to do a better job of getting him to the short intermediate parts of the field. And he doesn't run deep routes. He's not going to. He's going to win in the short intermediate. They just got to keep giving him those opportunities. He'll get open.
Yeah. Folks, we are at the hour. Last call for Super Chats, and we'll make sure that we get you your answer tonight. Thank you. Thank you for all your support. Can we finally put the D-Hop trade talk to rest? Well,
yes.
Okay. Dan says
over.
yes. It's over. He's over there parking a car. It's over. Okay. Do you like any of the UDFAs? Knicks fan, thank you, buddy. Thanks for always supporting us. I appreciate you. I do like, I'm really intrigued by the Harvard edge rusher. I do want to see him. Both Cam Jones and Reese Taylor are intriguing to me. The Tennessee tackle, sure, you have some commonality with your teammates. Sometimes that helps you make a transition and take a step forward. I do like that. The other guy that I wanted to shout out was, I said Remigio's name earlier. Oh, the new kid from Mizzou, Manuel Martez.
Yes, Manuel, safety, right?
Yeah, I think he's listed as a free.
Yeah.
So kudos to him. I like guys to play with heart. He's gonna have to earn it, but he just may do that.
Yeah. I think he's one of the guys that under the radar for the Chiefs roster.
Fair enough. Who's this year's Rojo 1.5 million throwaway contract? His name's Frank Clark.
Don't be surprised. It's like I said, it's him or it's Carlos Dunlap. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, like I could easily see a $3 million come in. You can play 15 snaps for us, Frank. Just give us some of that juice. Give us some of that attitude. Like I could
bring it in the postseason. Bring it. We'll sign you. Just play the postseason. You don't have to play at all until it gets to the postseason.
You want to send your postseason sack record? Yeah, come on.
We'll ramp you up 3 games before the postseason, and then
Gary, do you see Rashee Rice could get 1,000 yards this season? That would be shocking to me.
If Rashee Rice gets 1,000 yards as a rookie receiver, we get to throw everything we've ever said about Andy Reid out the window in terms of young receivers.
If Rashee Rice gets 1,000 yards this year, MVS blew out his knee.
Or Kadarius Toney's just done. Like one of the two. Like he's just no longer on the team. Like something happens, something weird. He gets hurt or he's gone. But yeah, somebody that's a starter is not playing the whole season, and then he just blows up. Like Patrick Mahomes is just that connection. Like there's just something sparked there, and they just throw the ball to him all the time.
But I will say this, Gary. Patrick has not done the whole back shoulder, throw it up, go get the contested catch thing. He has had Chris Conley before when, another 40-inch vertical jumper, but he was not the same Patrick then. So if they get on like a red zone in particular type thing, I could see 8 or 10 touchdowns from him. If they're like, screw it, we can do this throw it up thing now, and I love it. Patrick will go hog wild if somebody can't stop it.
Please. I'm begging him.
Come on. Draft pick with the highest upside. And what is their ceiling? All pro, Pro Bowl, above average, etc. The highest upside. I think both Felix and Wanye can be Pro Bowlers. I don't see an all pro in their draft class.
No, for sure. I think that's a good, reasonable measured outcome. Both of them have Pro Bowl upside. That's about what I'm looking at. I don't think that there's possibility. So I do think, however, that Felix is like, we're talking about the 1% outcome. The 1% outcome is that he learns to play the run like an elite edge rusher. because that will add more power to his speed to power. That's what we're looking at. If he gets to that point, then he could challenge past Pro Bowl. I don't know if he could get to all pro, but we're talking like a perennial 12 to 14 sack guy is what I think. If he gets just that added power, that he could really take advantage, because the one thing I think he's going to struggle with is transition wise is using a long arm and moving tackles with his power. He has good speed to power. It's just not consistent. So if he gets to that 1% point, I think we're talking about a perennial 12 to 14 sack player.
Agreed. I will say this too, though. Rashee Rice, Connor, and Coburn, I think, can all be above average players. BJ Thompson's I'm a little dark in the dark on, but I want to say he has that potential.
Okay.
I may be stretching a little bit there.
I think you may be stretching it, but that's fine. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for.
What's up, Oscar? Hope you're doing well. I was with you during the draft. Awesome.
And
I was so mad when the Eagles snagged Nolan Smith just one pick away. I know it, man. But thanks for the great works and much appreciate the questions. Cheers to you, Oscar. Thanks for always being here to support us too.
You guys have been fantastic.
Nathan, if you could have them straight from the draft on this current roster, who would you take, EB or Jamal Charles?
Oh, Eric Berry. Okay, I was like, I know the answer to this question, so
I think you probably know mine too, but go ahead.
It's Jamal Charles. And that's not because Eric Berry isn't fantastic when he was healthy. It's because the level that Jamal Charles takes this offense to is a level that Eric Berry can't take the defense to by himself. The Chiefs still don't have a running back with the dynamicism between the tackles. They don't have that. And he was such a threat in the passing game that it didn't matter what happened. He was so dynamic. Eric Berry was fantastic in the back end. That's not where the teams dissect the Chiefs. They dissect them at the linebacker level. So unless she's going to play linebacker, which I'm all for Eric Berry coming back playing linebacker just out the gate out of Tennessee. I'm all for it, but it's Jamal Charles.
I have to agree. If the coach were named Schottenheimer, I would disagree. But in today's era with Andy Reid at the helm, it is Jamal Charles. Excuse me, you guys. If you could have picked any wide receiver, tight end of your choice in this draft class, regardless that they had already been drafted instead at 31, who would you have picked?
I would have taken Jordan Addison.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Jordan was wide receiver 1 for me for the longest time.
Yeah, and it's not even because I had, he wasn't my wide receiver 1. JSN was my wide receiver 1. But they don't need another slot receiver.
That's the problem.
And while I have my reservations about Jordan Addison winning on the outside, he's still that piece that the Chiefs kind of need. I think that's kind of why they selected Rashee Rice, is because while he's not Jordan Addison in terms of route runner, he is that piece that you can slide in at a Z and let him kind of work what he does best. And if you add him at a Z, Jordan Addison does what he does best. Where do you think he's going to play in Minnesota? He's going to be their Z receiver. Like, that's what he's going to be, and he's never going to see a double team.
He's going to set Justin Jefferson free is what he's going to
do. So, I mean, I still have reservations about every single wide receiver in this draft. There was no clean-cut prospect, but I think Jordan Addison in this offense made the most sense from a stylistic standpoint at wide receiver.
Agreed. I will not argue. In fact, I feel a little foolish now that I let JSN creep over him just at the very end. It was literally that 40 time dropped his matrix enough that he surpassed Addison in the matrix, and I just can't ignore that, especially at a speed position like wide receiver.
I get it.
I had to.
I also worry about Addison being able to stress a corner deep. He didn't do it in college very much, so I'm just it worries me.
He did more at Pitt than he did at SC. That's for damn sure.
I'll give you that.
Des, thank you, sir. Any free agent wide receivers that they could pick up? I looked before. I'm gonna take another look just to make sure I don't sell you shit. Dang, man.
Sorry, Des. It's not like the cupboards are Daniel. If you guys don't know, they're Dan Orlovsky's spice cabinet. It's empty, man. There's nothing in there.
Plain white, dude. That's what you get. I'm telling you, like, I'm looking like Julio Jones is toast. His name isn't as fast as he used to be. You know what I mean?
No. Yeah. I'm with you.
Jarvis, old Sammy, Rashad Perryman. I don't know. Like, no, like there's maybe the best guy in this offense right now is Byron Pringle. That's who's available.
Yeah, Byron Pringle reunites Kansas City, man.
Dang. Sorry, Des. I got nothing for you, bud. Patrick, now the draft is over, what are some moves besides the Chris Jones extension you'd like the Chiefs to do before camp? I think we'd like to see veterans on the edge rush thing. Just because of history with Frank and Carlos, I don't think you can bring them both in myself. I could be wrong, but you know. Let's see. I'm just going to look at who else is out there. Not
L'Jarius Sneed extension.
Yeah, there you go. Just knock it down and get it done.
Yep,
get
it done.
I do like that concept. Who else is out there?
The coverage.
You know, I wouldn't mind seeing Deion Jones come in.
Puna Ford.
Okay. I can get down with that. Can you believe that Yannick Ngakoue is still out there?
He's still out there. If they could manage to get Chris Jones' extension done, free up some space, I would not be opposed to bringing in Yannick Ngakoue.
Yeah, I can get down with that. Who else is out here just twisting in the wind? Nasir Adderley retired, just so you guys know.
He did retire. Yeah, that was interesting. Good for him, like understanding he's like, I gotta.
Here's a body that I wouldn't mind seeing, because especially if Generic doesn't make the roster and you're a little worried about the room overall. Benny Snell. He's 25.
Absolutely not.
Why?
Benny Snell does nothing for them. He does nothing for them.
He can't batter down inside between the tackles?
No.
Okay.
He couldn't even do that in Pittsburgh. Couldn't even do it.
Okay, fine.
I have zero interest in Benny Snell. Bring back Darrell Williams if that's what you want to do.
Marlon Mack. No, I will say no on Kareem Hunt. Yes, he is a free agent, but no. He ain't coming back. Chiefs won't have him.
No, they won't, but I would love to have him back. I'll say it now. I would love to have him back.
Kale, is our recent draft success skewing our views on what a successful draft should be? For me, no. You should be able to get a starter level player in round 1. You should be able to get guys you can start within 2 years in rounds 2 and 3. If you do that, that's a successful draft. Anything else is gravy every year, all the time. They've just been really, really good the last couple of years.
Last year's heater gave fans a little bit of high expectations. I think it was such a heater of a draft that just let's do this every time. Let's do it every time. No,
let's make it happen, bro. Let's see, Alan, and thank you, Kale. Appreciate your support. When will Patrick Mahomes' contract get renewed? I don't think it'll get renewed. I think they'll extend it in
2026.
27, I was going to say. I think it's after the 26th, if that makes sense. I'd have to look at the structure again. But
he's going to be a bargain for that anyway. It don't matter to me when they get it done.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's just printed money anyway. Yeah. Damn. Digital Viper. Were you guys higher on Felix or Karlaftis pre-draft? I had Felix higher by about 7 spots.
Yeah, this is a good question because we kind of answered this on the Saturday of the draft, but this is a good question for everyone who wasn't there. We basically had nearly the same grade on him, like in terms of where you should draft him. Within 5 to 6 spots, you're like, yeah, okay, you're in early to like mid-early day 2 guy. That's what you are, a round 2 guy, and that's what we had on both of them. They just do different things well, and I think that's the difference is that. The reason I was higher on drafting Felix in the first than I was Karlaftis is because Felix offers an immediate pass rush upside. Immediate. And Karlaftis didn't do that. And you kind of saw that he still took him until last 4 games of the season to start getting it going. And a lot of those were still effort sacks, which is great. Effort sacks are fantastic. If every sack he gets from now until the end of his career is an effort sack, but he does it 6 to 7 times a season, bring him home. Bring him home, baby. That's how I love that stuff. So yeah, that's the only reason I was a little happier with Felix at the end of the first than Karlaftis at the end of the first last year. That's it.
Yeah, and that's completely fair. And now that there's bookends, they're going to push quarterbacks to each other.
Exactly.
Let's see. Landon, starting O-line week 1. Juwan on the left, Tooney, Creed, Trey, and I will say that it's Wanye on the right.
Me as well. Exactly.
Dub Freak, hope you're doing well. Thank you, sir, for the support. Don't want to speak it into existence, but if something were to happen to Kelsey, do you trust our backup tight ends moving forward? I think we dropped the ball not snagging one of the elite tight ends in the draft. Maybe next draft. I do trust them. I'm not sure why Jody didn't get more attempts, more targets last year. I know there was the injury towards the end of the season, but the first half of the season, I still don't think he was used enough. So if Travis were to miss 6 games, I think Jody starts. I think he flexes out. You use Noah like you use Noah, and I think hopefully Matt Bushman can make an appearance because Blake Bell is here basically to throw a couple of blocks and take a sneak, and that's about it.
The reason Blake Bell is here is to play quarterback on 4th and short.
Yeah, right.
That's the only reason he's here. He's got no other reason.
That's the absolute best way to put it. Dang. Thank you, Dub Freak. Hope you're doing well. Luis, hope you're good. What do you guys think about Ty Scott from Missouri State came in as a UDFA? I have not watched, nor do I have the ability to find Missouri State tape, so I don't have a dang clue.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the thing is that I'm having to try to outsource for Ball State and SF Austin tape. I have none. I don't even have ways of getting anything else. So we don't get a ton of film. This year was even more difficult to find film than the last couple of years on these guys. So I'm sorry, Luis. We just don't have access to that stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. It makes it hard. The smaller schools are always tough. Like I was happy that I found App State. Yay!
Yeah, right.
It just took them 3 years of being, a bowl team, basically.
Right.
What do you think about the Bengals and Chargers draft? Thanks, Des. I was not very impressed with the Bengals draft. I don't think they did themselves a huge service there.
I'm not sure
but
the Chargers did either.
Chargers made one huge mistake, and I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Let me pull it up here.
Honestly, I think they did a
Billy Tuipulotu at 54 was a gigantic reach. I had him in the 90s on my board. I actually dropped him in the upper fourth
round. Yeah.
I think that
they
was
drafted 3 TCU offensive players. First of all, everyone, but actually all 3 of them are reaches. Every one of them were a reach.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have drafted Max Duggan. I don't care where it was. He was an undraftable player, in my opinion. UDFA, yeah, fine. But I don't care so much about the first round draft pick on Quentin Johnston. But look at their offense at wide receiver. They don't have any speed. They have 3 starting guys that have 0 speed. And then their 4th is Josh Palmer, who also doesn't have speed. The one thing that you needed to do in this draft class was to add speed. If you're going to reach on a receiver, draft Jalen Hyatt in the first round. Do it and put it next to Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. But no, they wanted to draft Quentin Johnston, who can't threaten deep in the NFL. And then they drafted his teammate, who's basically just going to be their punt returner.
Yeah. He does have a little bit of speed, though. If he could figure out how to run routes.
Quite a bit. He ran a 4.3 or 4.35 or whatever it was. He's fast. But, you're betting on him running routes. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they fell in love with Thule because of the USC connection and Uchenna Nwosu.
It felt like they were trying to project someone to replace Khalil Mack with the power side. That's what that felt like to me.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, I can't even explain it, Des. That was not good.
It was a very weird draft for both of those teams.
Yeah. Cheers, buddy. Knicks fan, thank you, bud. Chiefs have to restructure contracts for next 3 season players. Take a lot of cap up. Jones, Mahomes, and the new right tackle. Am I right? For next season, they don't have to restructure the new right tackle next year. No. I wanted to say that he was... pretty evenly stacked. Let me check that out 1 second while Dan gives you his opinion.
Yeah, I think he averaged 20 per year, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't think he has cap hits that are huge until later, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong. Again, I don't really care about how much they end up paying Juwan Taylor because he's going to be your left tackle now anyway. Even if you played right, I wouldn't care at all because you're protecting Patrick. So yeah, they're still going to have some other guys to restructure. We think L'Jarius is going to be the big one, but other than that, they have, I would argue, no guys that are going to be coming up on big paydays outside of that. So they're in a decent position to be able to pay some of these guys top dollar and not have to worry about everybody else.
I like that plan. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Hold on. Wrong screen.
That's okay.
Boom, boom, boom. Let's make this better. Okay, so it's pretty even. When you look at the base salaries, it's 19 a year for the following 3 years, and the cap hits are identical. It's very evenly split. This is not a typical contract the Chiefs give.
Yeah.
So maybe they could recoup it. You could take some of that cash back out. That's for sure. But there's no like Spot Track calls the 2026 an out year. I don't believe that's true. There's no real advantage in that year as there is in any other year, other than the fact you only have 1 year worth of dead cap space left. So
yeah,
it's pretty straightforward, to tell you the truth. So I don't think you have to redo him at all, Knicks fan. And then hopefully, if everything goes correctly, Wanye will be your starter on the right. And if you were talking about Lucas Niang, Lucas's contract is going to be pretty affordable, I want to say, for quite a bit yet. Oh God, I hit the wrong button. Sorry about that one. Apologies. Era Podcast, Eagles going back to the Super Bowl from the NFC. It looks like it to me.
Would not rule it out in the slightest. They are a juggernaut in the NFC, and a weak NFC, we might add.
That's the big thing in a conference that is already weakened. Yeah. FYI, BJ Thompson was a Joe Cullen pick, just confirmed from the social. Yeah, I mean, we said that on draft night that he is a quintessential 3-4 outside linebacker. He is a Cullen guy. But thank you for confirming that for us, Cody. Nice to know that Joe thinks the way I think. It's like I learned from a 3-4 outside coach. Can you break down the possible reasoning behind Rice over Tillman? Versatility and injury history. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Rice could be a Z. You bring in a big X next year or the year after. Mike Evans is going to be a free agent eventually. You want to do something like that and get crazy with it? Rice can go be your Z. Tillman is going to be your X. He's going to be your X, and then he's going to be your X. And I do admit he's got injury history. It was significant. He played through it, but it was significant. So if there's anything in the medicals, I can understand why they passed on it. Now, not every team did, but the Chiefs did.
Yeah. That's really the biggest thing. And the upside is with Rice's yak ability that they really like. That's the big difference, I think, is that they think he can be a better yak player in the NFL than he was in college. So that's something they'll have to kind of monitor and see what happens.
Colby, why did you make me fall in love with a bunch of prospects just like the Chiefs and draft none of them? Because I don't want to be alone, Colby. It happens to me every year. I find dudes that I want, and I want them in Kansas City, and it never happens. And I just don't want to be alone anymore. No,
we do what we can.
I'm sorry that we did that, Colby. Just try to give you the straight juice, and if you fall, you fall, buddy. Let's see, Brett, veteran wide receiver, the Chiefs can pick up and make an impact. I don't see one. I don't think there's one out there.
Yeah, maybe we kind of went through there and just dust in the wind.
Maybe some on cut downs. Let's see what happens. There's a pretty sizable wide receiver class, so maybe they'll kick somebody out.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up here, guys. If you would like sub and hit the bell for those of you that aren't already part of this here rabble, I would appreciate it. I've heard concerns about Rashee Rice's ability to separate after watching his film in one-on-ones at the Senior Bowl. Are these concerns overblown or real? I thought he had a good first day at the Senior Bowl, the one that I was there live, and I felt comfortable walking away from it. Did he have an explosive day? Not necessarily, but his game isn't built on instant separation. He's a vertical adjuster. He's a catch point guy. And I do think he tracks the ball rather well, Dan. Are you concerned?
Yeah, so I answer a lot of this in the video, but I'll tell you that yes, right now the concerns are real that he doesn't create consistent separation. Um, but I will say, how often are you going to have to worry about that in Andy Reid's offense if he's being schemed up? That's the big thing for me. I don't think Juju Smith-Schuster coming into Kansas City last year was a very good separator, but look at what he was able to do, getting yak and being schemed into space. I think that's the big thing here is that they want to maximize on two things that I will continue to harp on, that Brett Veach will continue to harp on. Being able to win back shoulder throws and contested throws and the yak stuff. You're going to see on the film on Wednesday what I'm talking about specifically. There's one play there I'm just laughing. I'm just laughing because it's ridiculous what he does. So just look forward to that because I can foresee there being some fun things that happens with Rashee Rice again expecting he does take a step forward.
I certainly hope so. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you for being here with us. We have breakdowns coming. The Rashee Rice film is up. I'm working on the Wanye Morris. I should have that later this week. We have more coming on Felix, etc. Gary, Seth, they're all in the mix. They're just not quite the draft every 5-second people we are, but they're getting there. And I look forward to that. And I think you guys are going to dig it. So don't worry. We may slide some of the summer live streams back a little bit, so they're not quite so early. I know a lot of people are trying to do stuff like throw super chats in at the very end. Dang it, you know how I feel about that. But just so keep an eye there as we get down in the next few weeks and get ready for the transition to the full summertime thing. So KL did ask, rank the wide receivers by their potential if they're 100% healthy for the rest of their careers. Dang, that's a challenge. Rest of the careers.
Okay, I'm gonna take the first shot at this. I'm gonna give you 3 receivers. I'm gonna give you because the young guys on the roster are the ones that we can project careers, and everyone else behind them we don't have any clue on. So I'll give you the 3 guys that we know are going to be in Kansas City for at least the next 2 to 3 years, possibly more. It's clearly Kadarius Toney is the number 1. If he's healthy, he could be a legit stud. And my camera just shut off, so there's that for you. Number 2 is Rashee Rice, because again, if he stays healthy and gets to all that, he can do a lot of things yakking with his size. And then it's Sky Moore, because he is a more limited athlete with what he's going to be asked to do.
Okay. I like that. For me, it would then go, and I agree with those 3, and then it would go Richie James. And then probably I'm looking at Smith Marset, Watson, Ross, Freifogel. I like Freifogel. And then Nico Remigio. Let's see who else they bring in and get in. So I appreciate that. And Tracy, thank you for this one. I almost forgot about losing out on everyone, so remember when he makes his mark, I told you he was gonna. You guys have a great night. We'll be back with you tomorrow. We'll see you then.